G'day, Nick here. Today I'm going to show you how to operate a Fisher & Paykel ICON Plus. The ICON Plus comes in 3 different models. 2 of them are fixed pressure machines or CPAP machines, and that is the ICON Novo and the ICON Primo. And they also have an automatic one, which they call the ICON Plus Auto. Okay, the one in front of me today is the ICON Plus Primo. So it's the higher end level CPAP machine, so it's a fixed pressure device, and that means it's going to be set to 1 level of pressure. Okay, so I'm going to take you through just basically the setup, how it works, and how to operate it, and a few just different little tips and tricks you can do yourself. So to start with, we're going to attach the tubing. It's pretty straightforward. You have a perfectly round section of tubing that's going to go fit onto your CPAP mask, and the other end has a little, it's not exactly round, it's got a couple of little pins in it. That's going to attach to the outlet of the CPAP machine. And so doing that, we just push down. You can see how it's going to go. Push down on the other end, and the other end's going to go onto our mask. Now with the CPAP tubing, there's not too much to it. A few tips though is when you're disconnecting the tubing, always pull from the cuffed end, so the hard plastic part on the end. Never sort of pull from that part, because you will start to stretch it down here. Okay, same with taking it off. Never sort of pull it from up there. Always pull nice and close down there and pull it up. With the tubing, you want to be cleaning it every day. So just a bit of mild soapy detergent in there. You can put a thumb in either end and go and then just put it up and rinse it out. And then you just want to hang it up with a peg so that it's just draining straight out there. Another tip is what you can do is you can actually just attach it to the CPAP machine and turn it on, and it will heat it up and dry it out that way as well. But you just want to make sure there's not heaps of water in there. Okay, so make sure that you've dried it out enough, and then just do it that way. Once we've got our tubing on, we can put water in the humidifier, and the humidifier with this machine is in the middle here. So we have a lid on the top of the machine, and on top of the lid it has a couple of dots which you'll be able to see when you look down. To take the lid off, we basically just need to screw it round until the dots align. Okay, so the 2 big dots align. We can take the lid off, and then we can actually just pull out our little chamber here. With the chamber, we take it over to the sink. I always say put warm water or hot water in it, just because it takes less time then for the actual water to heat up. So you start getting humidified air quicker. But you just put tap water in there. They say to get distilled water. I don't think it's that important. Tap water is fine. Okay, if you want, get some filtered water or boil the water. Okay, but it's got a little level here where it has a tick. So just below that line, you can see the upper side there is frosted. You don't want to go over that line, so stay below the frosted part where the tick is. Don't go above there. And then when you just place it back in the middle there. Okay, it's got a little arrow on the top, just pointing towards the back of the machine. All right. Now with the humidifier, with the water chamber here, whenever you're traveling, make sure you empty that water chamber out. Okay. You don't want to flood your machine, so if you're going to put it in your car or you're going somewhere, empty the water out. I know it sounds simple, but people forget it. So make sure you empty the water out. With cleaning this, you want to empty the water, new water each day, and clean it out as well. So just a bit of mild detergent, okay, and rinse it out. And then once a week, you want to soak it with 1 part vinegar, 2 parts water, and just soak it for about 5 hours, and then just rinse it all out. Okay, place it back there. That's going to keep your humidifier chamber nice and clean, and it means that it's not going to get all gunk and slime on the bottom of it. And you want to keep it nice and clean, okay, because you pay enough money for it, so keep it in good condition. Okay, so once we've got our water in there, you put the lid back on. Once again, you just line up the 2 big dots on the top there, and it's like a little screw. It's a screw type action, so you just sort of screw it round till the big dot meets the little dot. Okay, so screw off and then just screw back down, and that just creates a nice seal there, and the lid's on. Now, once we've got the water in there, we've got our tubing on, we've put our mask on, we're ready to go. It's simple with this machine. We just attach the tubing up to our mask there, and then we have a smart dial here, and in the middle there's a big silver button. If we just press that button down, okay, what's going to happen is the machine's going to start producing the pressure, and the pressure is going to come out the tubing at the set rate. So whatever this machine's been programmed to, it's going to come out at that set pressure, and it's going to be between 4 and 20. So 20 being the max level of pressure, and 4 being the min level of pressure. But somewhere within that, in that range there, you'll have your set pressure, and the machine's going to start coming out there, and you'll see it on the screen here. Okay, this one's set to 10, I think, or maybe a bit less. Maybe 5 to start with. 5. Okay. So what we can do with these machines, though, instead of when we're first getting off to sleep having that pressure at that sort of set limit coming in, it can be quite strong. So we can use what's called a ramp feature, and basically the ramp drops the pressure down to a lower level so that it's nice and easy for you, and that way you can get off to sleep and it'll gradually tick back up to your set pressure over sort of 25 minutes. And to do the ramp, all we got to do is when the air's coming out, we just press and hold that button in for 3 seconds. You'll hear a little beep, and you'll also see a little triangle at the bottom there, and you'll feel that pressure really drop right down. And that there just means that when we're getting off to sleep, it's nice, it's easy, and we're not sort of fighting against the pressure. You might find that as you get more experience with your CPAP and you sort of get used to it, you might not need the ramp. You might just go straight to the set pressure, and you'll be fine with it. But certainly for beginners, people first starting off, it's handy to have that feature there, and most CPAP machine users do use it. Okay. This machine also has a feature which is called sensor wake. And basically that is designed, it's kind of like a ramp feature. If you wake up throughout the night, the machine can pick up that, and it can actually drop the pressure down to a sort of set level there, kind of like the ramp, so that it makes it easier for you to go back to sleep, so you're not waking up and then going, oh, there's a lot of pressure in the mask. Okay, so I've got this machine ramping at the moment now, just going off to sleep, and I'm just going to show you a few other things with the machine. So basically we use this outer dial here, this outer sort of dial. You got the one in the middle there, but the outer one, we can actually use this to go around the different dots that are around the screen here. Okay, now if I go just one to the right, it has a little thermostat. That's the level of humidification. Okay, so that's the amount of moisture in the air that the machine's producing. Now it's preset to 4. Okay. If we're finding the air, if we're dry in the throat, or we're finding the air's too cool, we want to increase that level of humidification. Okay, so to do that, we just press in the smart dial here once, tap it. It'll start flashing the number 4. We can then use the smart dial around the outside to increase that. Okay, and you want to increase it 1 per night. So we've got up to 5 now. We see that. We try it again the next night. Oh, we're still a bit dry. The air's a bit cold. We want to go up again. Okay, now I can go right up to 7. If we get to 7 and we're still really parched in the throat, so we're waking up and we've got a dry throat, we can actually step that up another level. Okay, so what we do is, I'll just show you how that's done. I just press, and when we're on the humidification setting there, we just press and hold that for 3 seconds, and it starts flashing. Okay, so at the moment it says 2. If I rotate that to 3, I'm actually going up another level. Okay, so think of it like this. It sort of goes level 1, 1 to 7, level 2, 1 to 7, level 3, 1 to 7 again. So now I've gone up to level 3. For most people, level 2 right in the middle there is quite fine. Okay, you're probably not going to need to go up to level 3, but there is that option there if you do need to go up to that next level. Alright, so now I'm in level 3 on number 5. Okay, so it's quite a lot of humidification there for me. The same thing goes, if you find the air too sticky, it's too hot, you want to drop that humidification down. So it's personal preference. What works for someone doesn't work for the next person. So try it out, try different things, work your way up and see how you go, or work your way down. But don't be afraid to sort of adjust that if you need to. Now this tubing is getting quite warm. It's heated tubing, and the idea of the heated tubing is that it's great, especially in colder climates, because it stops the humidified air from condensating. So you don't get that condensation, that water build up in the tube, which is really great. If I go, I'll just keep going along now. So if I go to the next level there, the next sort of few ones are all to do with the alarm. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. If you read the manual with that one, you can basically set your alarm, the level of volume of the alarm, and the alarm time and things like that, okay? And then you come down to the actual time, the brightness of the machine. If we get down to near the bottom there, you'll see, looks like a little graph. That's a really good one. This is your sleep data. So it's basically, all the data that the machine's holding. You can access that on the screen here. Another way you can access that, if I just turn the machine off here, I'll just turn it off quickly. If you press and hold the button in the middle there for, I think it's 7 seconds. Yeah, 7 seconds. It comes up with all your sleep data. Okay, so the machine has to be off, and you press the button in the middle there, hold it for 7 seconds. And what we can do is we can just once again use the smart dial to go through the different bits of sleep data. Okay, and it basically tells you how many hours you've been using it, so how many hours per night, your percentage of nights that you've used it over 4 hours. Okay, then we've got the nights used, how many nights you've used it for. You've got your apnea hypopnea index, and this is probably one of the most important ones, which is basically how many times throughout the night per hour you're having any sort of events. And by events we talk about apneas, hypopneas, basically when your breathing isn't quite right, okay, and these events could be actually disrupting your sleep. Okay, so the aim of the apnea hypopnea index is just to give you an idea. It's basically a number that we can use to sort of determine, is the pressure correct? Do we need to adjust the pressure? Is someone having a bit too much apnea for the therapy? Okay, so generally when you get diagnosed originally, you'll have an apnea hypopnea index sort of between 5 and 15 is mild, 15 to 30 moderate, plus 30 is severe. The aim is to try and get it less than 5. It's an aim. Don't think of it as we have to get under 5, okay? But if you're sort of sitting at 7 or 8, perhaps going up in pressure might just improve your sleep a little bit more, improve your breathing just that little bit more, and I guess make your sleep a bit more healthier and hopefully get you a bit more refreshed during the day. One thing I've found with the apnea hypopnea index is, and with sleep apnea numbers in general, is people get a little bit too what's the word I'm looking for? Precise with the numbers. That's maybe not the correct word, but they think of the numbers as gospel. You've got to use the numbers, I think, as a guide. Okay, so what we're trying to do here with this therapy is basically give someone a better night's sleep. Okay, so we don't want to be causing the sleep to be disrupted. We want to improve the breathing. So I always say you've got to find a bit of a happy balance, because there's no point in going up in pressure to reduce the apnea hypopnea index down if going up in pressure is going to actually cause the patient to wake up throughout the night more, because the pressure is causing them to wake up. So you've got to get to a point, I think, where you're comfortable with the amount of pressure coming through, okay, but the apnea hypopnea index is in a reasonable level so that your breathing is good and your sleep is healthy. So an example of that is there's no point in having the therapy really if you've got an apnea hypopnea index of 20. Okay, so if you want to set it at 4 centimeters because it's the lowest and you're most comfortable, there's no point in having that at 4 and wearing it if it's not going to control your sleep apnea at all. In saying that as well, if we're told that we need a pressure of 15 or 16 centimeters of pressure to can really control our sleep apnea, but we're really struggling to breathe with that pressure and it's causing the therapy to be really difficult and for us to wake up all the time, you might be better off bringing the pressure down a little bit and being a bit more comfortable and sleeping through the night and maybe not getting that full control of your sleep apnea. Okay, I think it's a bit of a balancing act. So moving on from there, if we're going to, so we can check out our apnea hypopnea index here on the data. And then we can also check out whether or not the mask is leaking, so the percentage of large leak per night. And when we're talking about leak rates of the mask, we're talking about whether the mask is sealing or not, okay? So when you put the mask on your face, the idea is that you want to get it to seal, okay? Now, there's always going to be some amount of leak, but you don't want it so it's excessive, okay? And that's the percentage of large leak there they're talking about. The percentage throughout the night where your mask isn't sealing the best it could, okay? Now what you could do is, obviously if you're finding that you're getting like a large percentage of large leak, you might obviously have to adjust the mask a bit, or you might actually have to think about maybe changing the mask up, getting a new mask, different style, all these things can be weighed up, but that just gives you an idea as to whether or not your therapy is, it's sealing well, okay? And the better the seal, the better your therapy is going to be, the more pressure is going to get to where it needs to get, and also the quieter the therapy is going to be, okay? The majority of the noise these days doesn't actually come from the CPAP machine, it comes from leaky masks, okay, or the mask end, okay? So just be aware of that. If we keep going down a bit further, it tells us the pressure that we're at, so 10 centimeters, and sensor wakes. So that's basically how many times sensor wakes operating through the night. Gives you a rough idea as to how many times you might be waking up through the night. Okay, so I'll just get out of that now again, back up to the top there. Alright, if we keep going down, we've got sensor wake there, and then we've got a setting one. Now, when we go to settings, we can actually turn on flight mode. Flight mode's, like it says, for when you're flying. Basically, it makes the machine very power friendly, and it reduces the amount of humidification that the machine produces as well. So you don't want to be running the machine on flight mode if you're not flying. Makes sense. Okay, I'll just go back up again. So that's a quick rundown of the machine there. Obviously, you've got the manual that you can read if you don't want to listen to me, which is fine. Another thing with the machine is just the filter in the back here. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. You can just pull that out there. It just pulls out. Now you basically want to replace the filter when it starts to get dirty. Generally, around the 3-month mark is probably about the time that you want to replace it. Generally, they don't last much longer than three months. It is an important part of your CPAP use, because if you don't change the filter and it gets really clogged up with dust, you're probably going to wear out your machine a bit quicker, because that is the intake. And you can imagine the machine, the motor in there, trying to bring in a certain amount of air to create that pressure. If it's got to bring it in through a really dusty filter, it's going to work harder, and generally when you're working things harder, they tend to wear faster. So that's an important thing to remember. Set a thing in your phone, or put something on your calendar if you've got something, because it's one of those little things that to remind yourself it's not something that is high on the agenda. So it's good to have just an automatic reminder there. Apart from that, this machine is a great machine. We really like it. It's quiet. It looks really nice. It's really well made. They're very reliable. All the parts are easy to clean and open and operate. The actual dial and the buttons are very nice. The screen's a really nice clear screen. The data part's really good as well. It also comes with some really handy stuff, which is in the side here. We've got a little like a info USB stick. Okay. And this is really cool, this info USB stick, because currently the way that Fisher & Paykel have it set up is, you could get one of these machines, and with your USB stick, you can plug it into your computer, wherever you are in the world, pretty much. And being a healthcare provider, I can actually log into my computer and change your settings if need to. So I can look at your data, and if I see things that might not be right, or I need to adjust certain things, I can actually adjust it at my end, and then you can take the USB out, put it back in your machine there, and it will update the settings. So that's a really good system, and all these systems now becoming better and better with the age that we're living in. So that's a really cool feature there. It's also good if you're going to your specialist or something like that. You can take your USB down, and they can check it out and do your reporting. So that just gives you an idea as to whether or not some of your settings might be needed to be changed. With your fixed pressure machines, so your set pressure ones, as you get older, or just maybe you might put on a bit more weight or something like that as your lifestyle changes, you might actually need a change in your therapy pressure, okay? And healthcare providers can look at your data there, and they can adjust the pressure to whatever's required. So if we sort of notice things, we can adjust the pressure at our end. You can put your stick back in your machine, and then your therapy is going to be kept where it needs to be. But thanks for watching the video. I'm going to be doing a series of these videos, so I appreciate your feedback. If you want to leave some comments down below. Also, if you want to subscribe, that's great. You can also give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Yeah, but I certainly would recommend a Fisher & Paykel machine. Probably the only downside of the machine would be is that, you know, I don't think it's the most portable machine around. So if you are a frequent traveller, it might not be ideal for you. It's not a 12-volt machine. Okay, so if you are going to use it with camping or something like that, you're going to need an inverter with it. So it's an AC DC machine, and also you can't disconnect the humidifier, so you can't just sort of leave the humidifier at home if you want to travel really light. But apart from that, really great looking machine, and it's really quiet, and the features of it really make it good. Thanks for watching.